Good morning. We'll call the September 22nd City Council meeting to order. And we'll give the invocation, then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States and the Texas flag. Join me in a word of prayer. Well, let's have a moment of silence first just to reflect, thank the first responders, our medical personnel for the work that they've been doing the last 6 months, and continue to pray for our community and our country and those that have lost their lives in this battle with COVID. Our Father, in addition to those that we've already expressed our prayers about, we pray that you would be with the folks up and down the coast that are experiencing some horrific flooding as a result of the hurricane. Be with them, protect them, keep them safe. Property can be repaired or replaced, but human life is precious, and we pray that the fatalities are zero or minimal as a result of these storms. We're thankful that you've allowed us to be here today to make decisions that collectively are in the best interest of our community and our citizens. And we're thankful for that opportunity. Guide us and direct us now in all that we do. These things we ask in your name. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Ms. Huerta, will you call the roll?
Mayor Joe McComb.
Here.
Council members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Rudy Garza.
Here.
Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter. Mr. Hunter? No, okay.
Yeah,
Ben,
I think he said here.
did he?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. I'm sorry, I can't hear. Ben Molina.
Here.
Everett Roy.
Present.
Greg Smith. Here. City Manager Peter Zanoni.
Here.
City Attorney Miles Risley.
Here.
Mayor and Council, a quorum of the council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
All right. I have one email that was sent in terms of public comment through the general public comment period related to water issues. Is there any others that have come in since this was passed out?
Yes, sir. You've got, there's 2 emails which the council has at their place, and we also have a request for callback today.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I've got the,
I think it's underneath. Yes.
I just have the one, but that's all right. I can get the second one.
Yes, sir. So there were several received, and then that one request for callback, which whenever you're ready, we can take, Mayor.
All right. Just out for the record, so they'll know, Randall Hill is one that's submitted for public comment, and who are the others?
It's Randall Hill, Russell Hanson, and Natalia Dossi.
Okay, and those were general public comment, not agenda item.
That's right, Mayor, just general.
Okay, we've got them for the record. Thank you very much. At this point, and you didn't have any, and you got a call-in schedule?
Yes, sir. I do. I have a call-in whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay, excuse me. Let's go with that then.
Okay. Okay, we're ready. Ms. Gonzalez? Hi. Go ahead and state your name and address. I'm going to put you on the speaker. State your name and address, and then make your comment, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes, my name is Elke Gonzalez, and my address is 1717 Piedmont Avenue in Austin, Texas.
Okay, go ahead and make your comment.
Oh, yes. Hello, and good morning, council members. As I mentioned, my name is Elke Gonzalez, and I'm the new Chief Executive Officer for the Corpus Christi Association of Realtors. I have already had the pleasure of virtually meeting Councilman Smith and Hernandez earlier this week, and I wanted to just take my minute to say hello to the rest of the council and just share my enthusiasm about being on board with the Realtor Association. I have been working for associations at the state, local, and national level for over 20 years now, and I look forward to working in partnership with all of you as new opportunities for development arise in the Corpus Christi area. So thank you for your time this morning.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. All right, Mayor, that concludes our comments today.
All right, thank you. All right, city manager's report and the update on our city operations, and I'm assuming COVID.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and members of the council. We're going to begin by a quick COVID update from our Public Health Director, Annette Rodriguez.
Good afternoon. So next slide, please. So I wanted to show here the death rates compared to the United States. The United States had 6 million cases, 199 deaths, for a total of 2.93% deaths, the death rate. Texas had a 2.16% death rate, and Nueces County is at a 2% death rate currently. Next slide. I've been showing every council meeting the number of cases by month. We've adjusted the cases because of the state data dumps. So what's important here is July usually shows 9,908 cases, but with the additional state data dumps, the actual number of cases for July was 11,575.
Could I just interrupt? The public frustration grows each day when we get a new data dump. And I don't understand it. Do you have any concept or idea of why? I mean, they keep going back, and some of them keep still going back 30, 45, or 60 days. I mean, what is I mean, people really, the credibility of that reporting our number of cases is out the window. And
Right.
I think this is what Peter and you and Dr. Blow and all, the number to focus on is the number of hospitalizations and ICU. Those are the two numbers that count. Everything else is so messed up they really can't understand. But it's a real source of frustration where we get, well, like yesterday, you know, one day we had 2 or 3 or whatever the lowest number was, and then
Right.
yesterday 200 and something, but then you find out it's,
A lot
you
of
know,
them
it
are
covers
from-
6 weeks back.
That's right.
What's going on with the state?
That's right. So the state, basically what they've told us, the Department of State Health Services has basically said that these were new labs that came up quickly to help with the number of COVID cases, and they did not have the proper reporting mechanism. And so they're still trying to work through their reporting, but they didn't have the proper mechanism to get them reported so that they could get them to us quickly. So there's this lag. So they're trying to get caught up with all of those. And they're telling us they're doing it as quickly as possible because we're just as frustrated. We would like to just see the current numbers and not to continue to have these data dumps. But we also know that these data dumps are important because these are actual cases that were positive in Nueces County citizens, so we need to put them somewhere. And so it's good that the city manager is actually going back and putting them in the right, dates. And that's what I'm showing here for the adjusted cases by months. But I am going to show you a graph that's what we utilize at the health district to see where we actually are. Because you're right, you see 200, and you're like, okay, it was 20-something the day before, now it's 200. What are the real numbers? And so I'm going to show you that, and maybe that'll help to kind of put some light on this.
Well, I guess the only silver lining would be 99 times out of 100, those 200 they said dumped yesterday that went into the cases
Are old.
also should have been in the number of recovered cases because they've had to have had it and been recovered by now.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So we're adjusting both numbers.
We're adjusting, yes. They are
Okay.
getting adjusted.
All
And
right,
you're
thank you. I'm
correct.
sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. So those are the adjusted cases by months as of 9/17, and the big one was July, and it was 9,908 initially, now it's 11,575. So if you look at next slide, cases by age group, it's the same. We've still talked about this. From ages 20 to age 50-year-old, those make up 13,602 of our 20,241 cases that we have currently. So We call the 20 to 29 the super spreaders, and the others the working class. Next slide. So here's the graph that I was talking about. So going back to the 5th, you see we had a total of 211 cases on that day. Those, the ones on the top, are the state data dump, if you will, and the bottom numbers, the 92, are the health district cases. The health district cases don't mean just cases from our drive-through. They're cases that have come in from our local physicians, hospitals, et cetera. So that's really the number that we look at the health district, because these other state numbers, they just go all over the place. So we looked at 92, and then we saw 21, which is a great number compared to 92. Then we saw a little jump to 50, then it dropped down to 12, went up to 47, down to 21, 15, went into a single digit 8, went up on Sunday to 24. On Monday it was 44, but we normally see a little increase on Monday. On Tuesday it was still at 44, we're getting a little nervous. On Wednesday it dropped down to 22, and on Thursday it dropped down to 8, and then on Friday down to 17. So, and yesterday we saw 37 cases from the health district. So just so you know, those numbers at the bottom really are very helpful, because these other numbers, they're coming at us from all different directions from the state. Next slide. The total deaths by age, the predominant age group to actually die from COVID-19 is still the 60 to 60 plus age group. I have 60 to 90 here. Those are the majority of the people that if they get COVID-19 and they're vulnerable, they have the comorbidities, they may actually pass away from COVID-19. Next slide. This is actually deaths by test type, because I think everybody knows the state actually just looks at confirmed cases. They look at positive PCR tests. But we also report probable, because it's in the CDC definition to report the probable. So these are the total deaths. These are probables and confirmed. But if you look at how they were actually tested, the majority of them were tested by PCR. 299 were tested by PCR. But there were 9 people that died that were tested by antibody that had COVID-19. There were 13 that were tested by antigen that had COVID-19, and there were 16 that had a combination of antigen and PCR, and there were 38 with a combination of antibody and PCR. And a lot of times you see the antibody testing in the hospital. They do, that's almost like a quick test, and then they're positive, they go ahead and confirm the positive with a PCR. So in 28, we're still looking to see which testing method they used. Next slide. The school districts have a total of 37 students and faculty that have been reported to the health district positive for COVID-19. Only 3 of those individuals were face-to-face instruction. So there are the numbers. CCISD has the lion's share. Tolosa Midway has 3 that were actually students. Flower Bluff has 1 that was staff. And Cal Allen has 2 that were students. Next slide. So just a reminder that it's very important for everybody 6 months of age and older to get their flu vaccine. It actually is going to help us this flu season. We actually saw that flu season ended earlier last year, which was interesting, because a lot of the physicians say that your body doesn't like to have 2 infections going on, fighting for attention, so to speak. So you either have COVID-19 or you have seasonal flu. And so the seasonal flu ended early, and we had more of the COVID-19 at the end of flu season in 2020. So the last slide that I'm going to show is going to be since 2015, and I know it looks very messy here, but if you follow me for a minute, the 2016 is actually the purple line. And the purple line is kind of in the middle of that whole next slide, please. Thank you. Sorry. The 2016 is actually the purple line, and it's right in the middle where you see February kind of written off. That's the peak. In February is when, in 2016, we peaked for flu. It's the purple line. 2017 is actually the green line, and if you look at it, in January, actually, we peaked for flu season at over 1,000 cases. In 2018, that's the blue line, and the blue line we peaked in March. So that's up there over 1,000 cases as well, like January. And then in 2019, we peaked in December, which is this past flu season. We peaked early. We peaked in December, and those are the red, that's the red spaghetti, and that was right around 800 cases. And so we really don't know when we will peak for flu season this year, because we've peaked in, all the way from starting December all the way to March. If you look at the 2015, that's the very, very bottom light turquoise color line. And it's interesting that it's low. We peaked in March, less than 200 cases, and we peaked very late in flu season. But if you look over to the right, the seasonal flu vaccine effectiveness, people always ask, how effective is the flu vaccine? Well, for 2015, it was almost 50% effective, which is actually very good for a vaccine. It's very hard to get effectiveness in viruses because they're constantly changing. So when you had more effectiveness in the vaccine, you actually had less cases. So when you had the least effective vaccine, only 29, 30%, you see a lot more cases. So everybody, again, please get your flu shot. I hope everybody got their flu shot today, if possible. Next slide. If not, get your vaccine as soon as possible. Flu season is coming, October 1st, and we're hoping that we have a very light flu season, and we're also hoping and praying that we also have a very light COVID-19 season. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you.
So, one,
Oh. Yes, sir.
thank you, Annette. Last week you briefed us on potential vaccines and how you're gearing up. Has there been any changes in this week?
No, we're on the same trajectory. We have vaccine drive-through schedules, and we are going to open it up to the public, but we don't have a lot of vaccine left because we don't normally give out a lot of vaccines to the public from year to year. So.
I'm talking about the corona vaccine.
Oh, the COVID-19? Yeah. No, we actually haven't heard anything. I've only heard that one time that we may actually get something in November. And it's going to be the same way that we've had it in 2009-10, where it'll go through McKesson, will be the distributor. They'll send it to us. They'll also send it directly to the hospitals, to the FQHC, Amistad, to some of the other places that can actually self-administer those vaccines and help. And then we'll get it out, through the different tier approach.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Molina, do you have something? I don't see any lights lit up. Anybody out in the cloud? All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Mayor and Council, I'm going to have Brett Odding, I should say. I've been pronouncing his name incorrectly, but CVB CEO, he's here for an agenda item. But this Thursday, the CVB has an all-day event pretty much, and I know it's been extended to your calendars. An invite, that'll be a day where Brett, working with a firm, will begin to work on their do more work on their 10-year strategic plan, or ours, the CVB strategic plan. So I just wanted him to explain it to the council today to let you know what takes place this Thursday and why the date's important, and then the bigger picture of what is the 10-year plan. So Brett's going to talk to us here for a few minutes.
Thanks, Peter.
Yes,
Good morning, everybody. So last week was a very busy week. Many of you were involved with last week. We had the consultants that are working on this plan with us in town, and we finalized the plan. The plan was really threefold. We first kicked off in June a series of surveys that went to all of you, as well as tourists, meeting planners, and the hospitality industry in the community. We had a few hundred surveys filled back out and sent back in. Last week, we also had a series of 18 one-on-one interviews with key stakeholders in the community, everything from developers to the university to elected officials to tourism leaders. And then we also held 2 town hall meetings for the public. One of them was a in-person meeting, and the second one was via Zoom online. So we really felt like we have given everybody an opportunity to express their thoughts on the future of tourism for the city. And the next step is this Thursday. And as Peter already said, you all are invited. It's been added to your calendar. And while I'm up here speaking, my assistant is also sending you another email with the further details. It is going to take place at 9 a.m. at the Salina Auditorium. And we are following the same protocols that the State of the Community address did last week with temperature checks and social distancing. And the seating at the Salina Auditorium, each row will be, every other row will be blocked off, so there'll be plenty of space for everybody to spread out. The consultants at that time will be giving the assessment update. And that assessment update, again, is how Corpus Christi fared compared to other similar sized cities and other cities that they have done this assessment on. They've done this assessment to over 300 cities over the last 5 years, including Corpus Christi now. So this will kick off the next phase of our 10-year destination management strategy. What that strategy is really looking at doing is connecting the tourism economy, what economic development is working on right now, and then what the city and the county from a quality of place standpoint is working on, and how do we make sure that we connect those dots and work in partnership with each other. The overall goal is to ensure the economic vibrancy of the community and make sure that tourism is able to succeed, but also has an understanding of what quality of place components are important for the community so we can build a better Corpus Christi. So you've heard me talk before, and I'm a firm believer, and hope you are as well, that what is good for tourism is also good for the community. So to wrap up, 9 a.m. Thursday at the Salina Auditorium. We hope you are able to attend. We'll also have a video link that we will be sending out as well for Zoom. If you are for some reason not able to attend, you'll be able to watch it then. And then after we get the assessment, we will take the video and the assessment, and we're going to post that on our website so the community can see it as well. Any questions?
Anybody in the cloud? Don't see any lights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brett, can I just, it's 9 to noon, is it 9 to noon?
9 to 11:30.
9 to, and can somebody come in late? Or is it
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you drop in and drop out, or what's
Absolutely,
your recommendation on that?
Yeah, the actual, where they are reading the actual findings takes place from 9:30 to 10:30.
Okay.
Prior to that, they're giving some backstory on how they went about creating it.
Okay.
And then there'll be a short break, and then afterwards is really going to start the next plan, the action plan of, now we see what our SWOT analysis as a city is, what are the next steps that we want to tackle first, whether it be airport, convention center, transportation, so forth.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, just two other quick things. One deals with our continued look at how we can cut waste and put our city's tax dollars and fees for service into efficient production. And so I want to report on cell phone and other IT devices. We're deactivating those that are underutilized or not utilized at all. And so our innovation team is in the process of reducing annual costs with the city's cell phone and other mobile device usage plans. We have a two-phase deactivation plan, with the first being complete in the first quarter of 2021. And so during the first phase, the innovation team has identified over 228 cell phones and other devices that have no activity in the past 2 months. So we're just paying bills for the sake of paying bills, which is not a good report. So we're going to deactivate those devices. We'll be saving $56,000 annually by doing that, and that's just phase one. Phase two, we'll continue to work with the departments to further identify low usage cell phones that are barely used. The ones we deactivated so far weren't used at all, and we'll deactivate those as well, saving additional tax dollars for the city. The innovation team will be working with the IT department to update the city's cell phone policy as well. We really don't have a written policy on how we use cell phones, who gets cell phones, and what type of plan should they be on. So the updated policy will mandate meeting fiscal requirements in the departments and their budgets and usage thresholds to ensure requesting departments have both the need and the funds to justify procuring a new cell phone that they'll use as part of their operations. So this is another example of eliminating waste, which we've been focused on for the past 15 months, and putting those dollars back into critical city services. And then one final thing, Mayor, for this morning is the census reminder. And so I have a lot of, there's a lot of facts in this next couple of statements here, but it's critical because the deadline for the census is fast approaching. So I want to just go over this for the benefit of you all, but more so the listening community who may not have filled out the census yet. There's still a little bit of time left. And so the deadline, though, is next Wednesday, September 30th. And there is some, the staff told me that there may be an extension, but that's not for sure. So we should probably err on the side that the deadline is next Wednesday, September 30th, to fill out the census. And so just some background, the census is conducted every 10 years, and participating in the census is a requirement of the law, of federal law. The census provides critical data that lawmakers, business owners, schools, and many others use to provide daily service, products, and to support their communities. The census is used as a benchmark to pay for over 365 federal programs. That's an important fact. And it ends up allotting about $1,750 per person per year to local governments for roads, schools, hospitals, and social services. That's a figure from the Census Bureau. And a complete and accurate count is critical because it results in the 2020 census that will affect our community funding. We've heard that many times before. Also congressional representation, though, into the next decade. So according to Nueces County officials today, just over 50% in Nueces County have taken the census, right? So that's not a good statistic at all. In our county, as of today, we've been at this for several months, and I know COVID's been here, and there's been some adjustments because of that, but only 50% in our county have taken the census as of today. So there's a significant increase that we were trying to get by the end of September 30th. We could lose both representation in Washington and Austin in over $1 billion over the next 10 years with this low turnout. So with my words and just the awareness here at our council meeting, we want to encourage everybody to submit their responses by next Wednesday, right, to ensure an accurate census count. And there is a website and a phone number I'm going to tell you about, so you can submit your census response online at my2020census.gov, my2020census.gov, or you can call 844-330-2020. That number will help you fill out the census as well. Okay, so Mayor, that concludes my remarks for this morning. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
That gets us to agenda item G on the minutes for September the 15th. Does anybody have any additions, corrections, deletions, modifications? If not, entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes on September the 15th.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we don't have any board and committee appointments today, right? Okay, then the next is a consent agenda, items 2 through 21. Item number 6, I understand, has been withdrawn by the applicant or the contractor or some.
The low bidder withdrew his proposal, Mayor, so we have to go back at this one.
All right, item number 6 has been withdrawn. That leaves us items 2 through 21. Anyone have any questions or comments on items 2 through 21?
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to pull number 14 and number 19.
14 and 19, you say?
That's correct.
All right, anyone else?
Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 5.
Number 5. All right, 5, 14, and 19. Anyone else? Anybody out the cloud? All right. Entertain a motion for approval of agenda items 2 through 21, except number 5, which has been asked to be removed for comment. Number 6, which has been withdrawn from the agenda. Number 14 and number 19. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second for consent agenda items 2 through 21, with the exception of those that have been referenced. Ms. Huerta, you got those numbers? All
Yes,
right,
I
all
have
in
them.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the first one's number 4. Who wanted that one?
First one's number 5.
I mean, number 5, excuse me.
I had pulled that one, Mayor.
All right.
This is a good news item, actually. This is an item where we are actually making improvements to several of our parks, and I had reached out to the community and tried to determine where or what park locations could use more additional trees. I know in District 2 we have a lot of park use, and certainly I think everyone would agree that at our parks we need more trees, so that which would lead to more use of the parks, which would lead to more people getting out, walking, exercising, more kids playing, just overall benefit to the community. So I had reached out to residents of District 2, and with their input, we've got a total of 9 trees being added to Lincoln Park, 7 trees to Lions Park, and 5 trees to Mike Cepeda Park. These trees are varieties of oak trees, and elm trees, and anaqua trees. There's also several other parks from other districts, but I wanted to highlight these. And from what I understand, these types of trees were determined by park operations and a certified arborist who helped us out with that. So I just wanted to highlight a good news item for District 2.
All right.
Yes,
Mr.
Mayor,
Garza?
can I just jump in to confirm that's accurate what Councilman Molina said? I did want to point out, though, at Labonte Park, over 100 trees to be planted there. So that's going to be, that park is used, but it is a hot, very flat, no tree park today, so that's going to have a significant change. Same thing at Labonte Park, same thing at West Guth, I'm sorry, and Los Encinos. So these are big parks with a lot of land where a lot of nice tree shade will be on its way. This is part of an initiative that we had in this year's budget that the City Council approved, and so we're making good on that promise today, and we appreciate Councilman Molina getting us some neighborhood parks as well that will benefit the community. Thank you.
Real quick, Mr. Zanoni, can you tell us approximate timeline of when these trees will be installed?
You know,
planted?
I think it's, do you guys have that? Is it,
Something in there.
it's
You got-
soon,
you
right?
got
Right after
90
this
days or
is, it's
something.
coming, it's over the next couple of weeks? Yeah, it's within the next couple of weeks. So this is, we're nearing the fall season, which is a perfect planting season. And so that's why we're going to move forward with these here rather quickly.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
great. Motion to approve.
I'll second, even though District 5 didn't get any trees.
All right.
Or District 4.
Mr. Garza?
Yeah, I'm certainly for the motion, but let me just make a couple comments real quick. First off, I'm certainly in favor of of this particular effort or this particular initiative. Using the monies from the Community Enrichment Fund in a timely manner, I think is great work. When I was on the Planning Commission, and part of the UDC effort was to identify trees and shrubs that would work well in our area because of the fact that we're basically in a desert, and we've planted trees in the past that have died, and we've then had to replace. Working with the arborist, that they look against that list of plantings that were recommended by the UDC for use in our public facilities. That's the only question I have, is just making sure that we're not planting something that's going to require more water than we can actually furnish.
Yeah, is Joey or is somebody on from Parks?
Peter, this is Tracy, Interim Director of Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
And to answer your question or your comment, we did consult with our arborist, who is the Parks Operations Superintendent. He has 30 years of experience, and he is the one who helped us select these native trees to make sure that their success in growing in our environment. We did have a short presentation that shows some of the trees that we selected if we wanted to look at that. But otherwise, like I said, we did rely on his experience and knowledge.
That's okay. I'm just gonna recommend that if he selected those trees and he feels comfortable with them, could we just go back and look at those trees that we're gonna be planting and make sure that they're on our UDC list of recommended plantings, so that if we miss something when we did that work, we can update that. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Just one question, that the open area out at Labani, I mean, yes, it is a big area, but it's also, unless we don't have the lease anymore, a big area where they play soccer.
Well,
So
yeah,
are we taking up the soccer field, or are these gonna be on
No.
the boundaries or something?
yeah, according to the park staff, it's been some time since any soccer's been played up there. It was a field used some years ago, but there hasn't been any league or any really play up there. But having said that, they're going to be planted more on the perimeter, so that grass area won't be significantly compromised with trees.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
All right,
Yes, quick, Mayor, quick question. Do we have, Mr. Zanoni, do we have additional funds after this expenditure on this particular tree buy?
So
You may
this,
accept that.
the budget initiative that was in this budget of about 200,000 would be satisfied with this agenda item. And there's nothing budgeted in the 2021 budget, but we'll continue to look for opportunities to plant trees. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Okay, and you cut out
Yeah.
with nothing, so this expires basically the budget
Yeah,
for
this-
the trees for this year?
Yes, for 2020's budget, this is what we had budgeted, and so this will exhaust those funds.
Got it. And, okay, but we'll look for more?
Yes, we will be looking for more. In District 5, the Bill Witt Park was initially a candidate to get trees, but we want to wait till the master plan is done, so we don't just plant them in a spot that's...
Okay,
So
okay,
once
great.
that's done, that'll be one of the first things. And so we'll look for some funding through either the community enrichment or other funds midway in this fiscal year coming up, the new one.
Okay, great. And, Mayor, I'm sorry, I forgot to pull 21, just to make a comment.
all right, well, we'll get to it when we get there. All right, so there's a motion, let's have a motion on 5.
Yeah, we have one on the floor, motion and a second, Mayor.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, then we're down to number 14. Who wanted that one? Mr. Hernandez?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Kevin Norton, Director of Water Utilities, standing by for questions.
Okay, I requested this be pulled, and I support doing this. There's a couple of things in here, and, you know, I've been harping on our capital improvement projects, so it's probably more a question for him here.
Yes, Camille.
Camille Tires, Capital Improvement Project Manager.
Okay, Camille, and thank you. I just wanted to kind of understand, and this is kind of the issues I've had with the capital improvement plan budget from the get-go. And one of the reasons I voted against it is because nothing's matching up. You have funding that it doesn't match from the previous year. The dates of where money was spent don't match. And so I want to have an understanding of how this was developed. And for example, you have in the 19 to 20 budget, for 2020, you have 2.1 million, 2,184,000 budgeted. In 2021, you have 2,110,000 budgeted. But in the new CIP, you have 450 in 2020, 3 million in 2021, and 2,100,000 in 2022. Plus, any funding that was spent prior to that has dropped off completely. And so, even though the project is still the same project number, there's not alignment with total amount of money and also what was actually spent in previous years. So, just so I understand, and what the question is here is, how do we account for this when we add money or take away money or don't account for things that have been spent?
So the purpose of this is a planning guide per budget's involvement in the capital process. We, if for example, let's take a project that, you know, it's outlandish, but you have Park Road 22. We are unable, based on, you know, 3 years of future plus 2 years back, to reflect true expenditures for a project that spans 16 years. So it was made a decision executively for this to only reflect what is the potential needed budget for this year and the 3 years moving forward for the project, not reflecting previous expenditures, as that is a function of finance, not of planning. So the purpose of this planning guide for the CIP is to show what is the potential expenditure, potential budget needed for this year, upcoming year that's being approved, and 2 years forward. That's why you have the 3-year plan. And you mentioned why in fiscal year 20 we had 2.5 million in 1 year, 2.5 in the other, but now in fiscal year 21 we have 3. Well, every year we do an assessment of every single project that is in our plan. We go to every single department and say, look at every single project that you have, and if you believe that there's a change in the schedule, you might need more funding in an earlier date, or you might not need funding in year 1, but you need to shift that funding in year 2. We make that adjustment each and every year to reflect a truer estimated progress of the project. If we don't do that, I can very easily just say, what is the total cost of this project? Let's put it all in 1 year and forget about it. So we're trying to adjust it every year to reflect what the potential expenditures the potential needed budget for that particular year might be.
Sir, that is what happened this year too, because the design took a little longer than what we thought. We thought we were going to get to.
Mr. Norton, we can't, can you get on the microphone, please?
Sorry about that. Yes, sir. So that's exactly what happened with this particular project. We thought the design was going to get completed sooner. We'd be able to get into construction sooner, but the design took a little bit longer. So here we are presenting the construction project at this time. But construction dollars were previously accounted in the previous plan, and that had to get shifted, just like Camille was explaining there, sir.
Okay, it's not so much the shifting, because you can shift money, that's not the issue, but to keep the overall cost of the project, if it's different, you have to account for what was spent in the past, so we know what the overall project cost was.
And
So you can account for it by creating something in the back where money was already spent. The idea is understanding where money has been planned for and what has been spent within
And-
the CIP.
Absolutely, I understand that. So with the limitation of the current database that we have, we did, for the caveat, engineering did get approved in January by this council to purchase a very robust engineering and planning program, the e-Builder program, which has a much more expanded databasing and planning module on it, which we'll utilize. And at that point, when it integrates with Infor, we'll be able to generate that information in a backwards manner to project the actual expenditures. But at this time, to do that for a staff of 2 under my division is a task, a monumental task, as you can see, for all the projects that are there, to be pulling individual reports for every single one. So the decision was made that this is a planning guide, and the expenditures, if a report needs to be pulled for any person asking for any specific project, we can pull those individual reports for those projects with the previous year's expenditures. But what we're going to show is a planning guide of what is needed going forward.
Okay, so just looking at it from the perspective of what we look at City Council in terms of an overall project, planning and understanding where money's coming from. I understand it may be a planning for your perspective, but from us and from the general public, you want to see the entire project and what has been spent. I have actually asked our city manager to take a look at keeping track of the actual budgets associated with these projects going forward, so we can see what amounts are left over from any of these projects, if there's any, or if they went over budget.
Oh,
So
every project is tracked,
I understand
yes.
that, but not publicly. Okay, so to that extent, this is something that I think we need to really look at for the projection in terms of planning and understanding once it's completed. Because right like this, there's no continuity here, and there's no explanation as to what changed or why. So just in looking at it from the perspective of that, I want to make sure that we understand that this is hard to follow from the perspective of looking at it especially when the agenda memo doesn't match the CIP, and there's no explanation. Now, this one was done a little bit better. There's a better explanation in terms of the agenda memo, but this is also one of those things where things don't match. And I want to make sure where things are, where money's being spent, and where it's being tracked. That's what I'm asking here on this. So with that, I would like to make a motion to approve this item. Oh, one last thing. Is this project associated with any of our EPA requirements for the consent agreement?
Daniel, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Really, any kind of wastewater project at this point is associated with the consent decree.
Okay, can we keep a track on how much we've spent or how much is going to be spent and associated with the consent agreement? That way we have visibility to it?
Yes, sir.
Because it didn't specify it here. It said TCEQ with a permit. It didn't say anything towards the EPA.
Yeah, everything that's in the capital improvement, the entire capital improvement program at this point is part of the consent decree. And so what had been presented, and that is all going to be tracked, because we're going to, when we formally enter the consent decree after the federal court approves it, we are going to have to report back to the government about
Okay,
that federal.
let's take credit for it, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, can I just add to, Mayor, real quick? So this is a significant investment in our city's infrastructure, $6 million for UV lighting. I just want to point out for you and the community that this is the city's second largest wastewater treatment plant, second to Oso. And it is aging, though, and yesterday, and I'm going to take a tour in the next week or so, but the staff provided me an overview of the treatment plant. It does have some aged infrastructure, but there's a good plan in place to replace a lot of the infrastructure. And this will enable the plant to take care of the wastewater that comes from existing homes and businesses that are there, but also future development that'll be taking place out there in London. This will be the treatment plant that'll be used, so it's being set up for future development in our community, and we'll have modern and appropriate equipment and systems to handle that. So this is a great news story, as one of the council members just said, and I just wanted to reflect that so the community understands as well. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Garza?
No. Excuse me, that was from last time.
Staff, is that Mr. Smith?
Technology. There you go.
Okay, patience. Thank you. While I've been on council, we've spent a significant amount on our UV systems. Have we done an assessment of UV versus chemical infectants? Because I think around 2012, 2013, TCEQ changed the requirements, which made UV disinfectant much more expensive, where it used to be a pretty easy one. So that's my simple question. Have we really done an analysis? Is we're going to upgrade these plants, which is the most cost-effective with today's regulatory requirements on their UV versus chemical disinfectant?
So, sir, that's a little bit difficult to answer because we have 6 wastewater treatment plants, and they're all kind of different. They got different permit requirements. What you're talking about, though, is when TCEQ shifted from E. coli being the regulatory requirement to the enterococci, and that's much more difficult to treat, and so that's why we have been moving to the UV. The city manager mentioned OSO, and we got that breakpoint chlorination. So that's what I mean. It's difficult to compare it because we use so much chlorine over there, for that particular treatment plant. But that one is going to be, it's in the process of major capital improvements over there.
I'm just saying, are we running the numbers on this, the difference between the two processes?
Yeah, I think the UV is, okay, well, I'll get back to you, sir. Yeah. I'll get back to you, sir.
Any other items on 14? There's a motion and a second, is that correct?
Second.
All right, any other discussion on item 14? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All aye. All right, number 19.
Yes, I pulled number 19. I just wanted to kind of highlight this as something that we're trying to get on the grant side, and if Mr. Raymond could give us some details on it.
Nina Nixon Mendez, Assistant Director. Yes, this is a project that is being proposed as a joint application with Nueces County. We would join in the application. It's for CDBG MIT funding. This is a fairly large grant competition that for round one, essentially there's $1 billion that are available. The particular project that's being proposed is the North Beach Canal project. As you know, we've conducted studies on this, and so we do have information that we can submit, of course, jointly with the county. The county would be on lead with the grant submission for this. And the grant deadline is at the end of October, October 28th. We will be working with the county to provide the necessary information for the grant. The county has also requested a memorandum of understanding. Now, under the CDBG MIT guidelines, they do encourage jurisdictions that do provide joint applications to enter into MOUs so that you can essentially outline what the roles and responsibilities of the jurisdictions are. And so in this particular case, we have agreed with the county to work with them on the application, and the county will be taking the lead with respect to the application and the grants management aspect of it. But of course, we will provide support in that effort. And we are not committing to a financial match at this point. However, there is a commitment to maintenance that could be through the city or through other means in the future. But again, we're at the point of the application. And so we do have time to, if we did receive the grant, we would be able to work through that with the submission.
Okay, thank you. And I wanted to pull this to highlight it, considering the discussion we had during the TERS number 4 meeting, and how important, and considering our current tropical storm beta and the high water that we've seen in recently. And hopefully we were able to utilize some of those pictures in this application.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that we are focused on this. We want to do something to fix the drainage on North Beach, and this is kind of highlighting that.
Yeah, this is a great example, Councilman, of why we're serious about this effort. This is a joint agreement. Nueces County Judge Barbara Canales presented this CDBG MIT grant to the TERS Board most recently, last couple of months. And so we reached out and partnered up with the county. The application amount will be for the council-approved amount for the canal, $42.5 million. And this is a great project. It's that MIT grant is to help alleviate flooding, and we know certainly we need that on North Beach. So we're glad to be partnering up with the county on this application. We also have our own 3 applications that we'll be submitting, and we'll be bringing that to the council in subsequent council meetings here.
Absolutely. And with that, I make a motion to approve.
Just for clarification, well, Mr. Smith had you got your light on there. Mr. Staff?
Yeah. Thank you. Nina, so you mentioned the submission deadline. Is there any visibility on when they're going to be awarding the grants or how long that process, because it is a huge project for North Beach?
Right. Well, typically it takes, several months for the GLO, the General Land Office, to review these applications. So we're anticipating word possibly in March or April.
Okay, thank you.
Is that, just one question on clarification. In the wording or the application, does it specifically state that it's a drainage project or a economic development project as opposed to just a canal?
Yes, sir, it would be a flood mitigation project.
Okay, because I mean, particularly in light of that, when Mr. Urban was here during that presentation, he acknowledged that a canal won't solve the drainage problem. So,
There are multiple categories that could be applied for, and one is specifically infrastructure, so we could either qualify it for either flood mitigation or for storm infrastructure or infrastructure. So I think there are several different eligibility categories that we could consider for that, Mayor.
well, I mean, it'd be great to get it, but I mean, I don't want to eliminate ourselves if we don't have the correct verbiage in there because, for instance, at TERS, there's not a mention of drainage. And so that's our problem, is elevation and drainage. And that's, if we can't focus on those two things, we're wasting our time. That's what I want to make sure that we don't miss out on it by not using the right verbiage. But if you've got that covered, then I hope we're successful. Any other comments?
Mayor, I just need to clarify one thing. The council-approved amount for the canal is actually 41.2, but our application is a little bit more, 42.5. I just want to clarify that for the record. So,
Well, if we get this grant, we're off the hook then from the TERS, right?
yeah, right.
There you go. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Any other comments? Did you?
I was seconding the motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second. If we've got the clarifying language, well, that's, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we need a voice vote? No, any opposed? All right, the item passes. Thank you. That was number 19. That's all of our consent agenda, right?
Ms. Fajardo said she had a just a comment on 21. We've already voted on 21. but
Okay,
she
excuse me,
said-
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Worth,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I came in late on that one, but I just wanted to take note, this is a pivotal step. And I will say in my efforts to revitalize this uptown corridor, about a year ago, we brought together, a little over a year ago maybe, a group of people, really our stakeholders here, but staff as well, to say, please reimagine, let's reimagine this area, re-envision the Midtown area development. And as a result, we're extending this plan today. So it's a very big deal. And I think it's a historical moment because this action today sets forth reinvesting and planning for the future of this area for the first time. And, you know, Peter and I have had conversations. I know we all agree, this is our home base. City Hall is our home base. And we've been beautifying it, and we're going to continue to do that because the Staples corridor is extremely important, especially with the Harbor Bridge coming and that being the new gateway entry. So I'm really, really proud of this because this is a result of coming together and putting some focus on this area. So I just thank Peter and staff for doing this. And I motion to move to approve.
We already approved it, Ms. Ms. Fajardo.
Right. Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Okay, yes, sir. Additional comments on item 21?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Guajardo, I appreciate your efforts. I, too, have also been working on my end since this does include District 2. You know, the Staple Street corridor is important. It is an area that is in need of revitalization. I have been in contact with several business owners along that area, and we are working on a game plan ourselves to help clean that area up. And so this will just augment those efforts. Also, with the Midtown Area Development Plan, that encompasses the entirety of District 2. And so, you know, District 2 is unique in that it is a good cross-section of what the entire city looks like with the various levels of income and housing available in District 2. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think that you know, this will put us in a good position for the future. So I agree that this is something that is desperately needed. And since we don't have a motion to make, since we've already passed this, I will thank you all for the time.
All right. Next item is item 22. It's a zoning case. It's not a public hearing, right?
It is, Mayor. It's
It
a
is
public hearing.
Public hearing?
Yes, sir. It got split up from the, if
Okay,
you look
well,
at 5, it's a public hearing.
I guess I missed that on my previous page there. Oh, all right. All right, public hearing on item 22, the zoning case, High Tides Partnership, property at near State Highway 361, going from farm to rural to resort commercial.
Commercial district.
District.
Right. Good afternoon, Mayor Al Raymond, Director of Development Services. I'll wait till the gentleman pulls up the presentation. Item 22, there we are almost. Okay, great. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The case before you is to rezone a property located at 10582 State Highway 361 from FR Farm Rural District to CR2 Resort Commercial District. The purpose is to allow for the construction of a multifamily development and boat storage facility. The applicant is High Tide Partnership Limited. Next slide, please. The property is located along the west side of State Highway 361, north of Zane Road and south of Newport Pass Road. The property primarily fronts along State Highway 361, which is designated as an RA3 primary rural arterial street. To the north and west is Mustang Island State Park, zoned RS6, Single Family District 6. To the south are vacant properties zoned FR Farm Rural District, and Island in the Sun Methodist Church, zone RE, Estate Residential District. To the west, of course, is Laguna Madre. The property is 5.8 acres in size, and it is not platted. Next slide, please. The proposed rezoning to CR2 Resort Commercial District is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, compatible with the surrounding uses, and it does not have a negative impact on adjacent properties. CR2 Resort Commercial District is the appropriate zoning district for the proposed use. Approximately 1,000 feet to the south of this property along State Highway 361 is a property that was rezoned to CR2 district in 2009. The majority of the property is in an AE flood zone, which indicates a high risk, and the base flood elevation in this area is 10 feet. Next slide, please. Planning Commission and staff recommend approval of CR2 Resort Commercial District. 2 public notices were mailed out. 0 were returned in favor and 0 in opposition. I stand by for any questions.
Any comments from anybody in the, open the public hearing. We didn't have any written comments submitted or phone calls need to be made or anything?
No, sir.
All right, for the record. Any council comments on item 22? Ms. Smith, this is in your
Motion to
district.
approve.
Second?
All right, there's a motion and a second on approval of items 22.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining?
Yes, sir.
All right, for the record, Ms. Guajardo's going to abstain from item 22.
I'll second it then. Michael Hunter.
Did Hunter abstain too?
Michael's saying he'd
No, I'm
second, but
seconding. I think Ms. Guajardo seconded before
I
I was
heard,
able to abstain.
I heard Mr. Garza.
Okay.
I think Paul, it was just, Ms. Guajardo was just saying she wanted to abstain.
All right. So
Got you.
We got a motion and a second on item 22. Ms. Guajardo has requested to abstain from discussion or participation in the vote. Any other comment?
And we closed the public hearing, that's
All
all.
right, we'll close the public hearing, and we had we'll repeat, no public comment, either submitted email or telephone request or letter that any of us aware of. It's a zoning case, so Ms. Wirth, if you'll call the roll so the abstention can be recorded.
Thank you, Mayor. So for passage of ordinance 22 on its first reading, Mayor McComb,
Aye.
Councilmembers Roy, Mr. Roy? Do you hear him? Okay.
Oh.
Your mic's not on, but, okay, thank you. Smith?
Aye.
Barrera?
Aye.
Garza?
Aye.
Guajardo abstains. Hernandez?
Aye.
Hunter?
Aye.
And Molina.
Aye.
The ordinance passes.
All right, item 23 is a motion authorizing city staff to present supplemental information on the 29th that responds to the request from alternative water supplies, information provided other potential water sources, some updates from the CC Polymers plant endemic utility, and an update will be provided on the Port of Corpus Christi's desal permit application. The question in a clarification, you're going to be asking for an update on the 28th, or the 29th, or were you expecting an update for today? Because I got a call from the port, said they were not aware they were on the agenda to make an update today.
Mayor, that's just, the staff will provide an update based on just basic facts about the port's application process on the 29th. So we're not having the port come over here.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll just be, it's going to be stuff that the staff knows already today.
All right,
And
well,
one of the
somebody
council
said they were
members
going
asked.
over the agenda and said, I'm just going to tell you, nobody from the port's going to be there. We didn't know about it.
Yeah,
So
that's because they don't need to be here.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, this motion is, basically, it's the people that responded, that did respond to the RFI back in 2018, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you're
2018.
going to bring a summary or bring the information that we've gleaned from those
We asked them
submissions?
for some supplemental information, sir.
So
If
they
they
might have
could,
brought it up to date?
Yes, sir, yeah, and if they had cost information, and it's kind of short turnaround time, so we asked them to provide their assumptions too on getting there, just so we kind of put it into context.
All right.
How much they could provide, any challenges that they foresee with it, the timeline.
All right. Anybody have any question or comment on item 23? Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, this was part of requests that myself and Councilman Garza, Councilman Molina, and Councilwoman Guajardo had asked for. But this is not exactly what we'd requested. This is staff making the presentations instead of the actual RFI respondents. And I just want to make sure that that is what this is saying, that the RFI respondents will not have an opportunity to present.
Sir, they will be here. What we had asked them to do was provide information to us so we could put it together and summarize it for it. And we invited them to either be present here or virtually via the WebEx.
Okay, so getting back to my question.
Yeah, let me answer the question if I can, Councilman.
Sure.
So that if you look at the briefing memo that we wrote to, under the summary, the second sentence, and I'll say it here, but so the staff is getting the information. Kevin's going to present it for each of the entities that wants to submit it to us. That day, we've also asked them to be in attendance. They can either be here in the audience or they can Zoom or WebEx in. After staff's presentation, those companies are available if council would like to ask them questions or have them repeat information that Kevin has already stated. And so our recommendation to acknowledge the spirit of the four-signature memo is to allow those companies to speak to the council. We just ask that staff get the information first so we can compile it, present it, and then the day of the 29th, they'll be here in attendance, they being the companies, and they can answer questions from council and provide additional information if they'd like, at the direction of the mayor.
Okay,
the will of the mayor.
just so we're clear on how this looks, and I understand how you're presenting it. I have no problems with them providing the information and Kevin doing a preview of all the presentations, but we'd also like them allow the RFI respondents to make a presentation directly in addition to what Kevin is doing. So I'd like to amend this to include allowing for the RFI respondents or the other two that were invited to also present directly to council in addition to what has already been stated.
I don't understand the necessity of it. If they're submitting their information, he ought to have it. I mean, this isn't a sales pitch presentation. This is just to gather some information that was supposedly submitted and updated back in 2018, right?
Many of the companies, sir, they didn't provide cost information with it because we weren't really asking. We're just saying what they could do, and
Yeah,
it was.
well, we know what they can do, now we're just gonna know the price.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple.
Well, that said, excuse me, it's Paulette. Well, I don't see the harm in them presenting. And is that what you're saying, Mr. Nunes?
What I'm asking for there, Councilwoman Guajardo, is to make sure that we have afford them the opportunity to present directly with any other information they may have that is not provided by staff or they feel that they need to provide, and give them the opportunity. They don't have to take that opportunity, but we want to ensure that we have an allowance for them to provide that to us directly.
I mean, that, what you said there here, in case there's any questions or clarifications, right?
That's correct, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I mean, I don't understand.
Just for the sake of clarity.
I think the concern is, certainly that I have, is that if we get a very briefed summary of what they presented or what they offered us as a solution, and that message doesn't get to us in its entirety, then they've got an opportunity to at least come in and fill in the spaces. We don't want filtering or censoring like I've seen done before, so that we can actually hear what exactly they're offering to provide to the city. We haven't seen that yet.
Okay,
And I believe I need a second to amend this.
Mr. Molina?
Thank you, Mayor. I was one of the council members that had submitted a memo requesting this agenda item, and just personally, after having time to think about it, Councilman Hernandez, I think I'm comfortable with staff giving the presentation as long as those representatives are here to answer any questions and fill in the gaps or correct any information that was misstated by staff. I would feel comfortable with that personally. I also think that this is going to be a lot of information that's going to be given to us at the time. So I think maybe this should be moved to its own special meeting or workshop so that we can devote the time needed to take in all of this additional information and get all of our questions answered at the same time.
And if I can address that, what I'm asking for is not anything different than that. I just wanted clarity that we will afford them the opportunity to speak. I believe invitations have already gone out for the 29th, but if you can kind of speak to that.
Yes, sir. So we contacted a total of 12 different companies. The RFI respondents and CC Polymers and Dimmitt Utility were the other two that because they had contacted you all actually about it, and as well. So of the 12, 9 of them have expressed interest in it thus far, and two provided CC Polymers and I'm sorry, not CC Polymers, but Evangeline and Dimmitt Utility have already provided information to you. I don't know if they're going to be updating anything, but we do have that cost information. And then one of the companies submitted a response yesterday that we're taking a look at it today. I'm not sure the content of it yet. And the other said that they would provide information by tomorrow, which was the requested due date, so that we would have time to sift through it, consolidate it, and get it into a presentation this week for the 29th.
So 9 to 12 do you know if they're planning on coming here or WebExing in?
It's both, sir.
About half and half?
It's probably mostly going to be WebEx. 2 have indicated they might come down.
Okay.
They're in Texas. They have Texas representatives.
Okay.
As long as they're allowed to fill in the spaces, I'd feel comfortable with staff doing the presentation.
All right, well, is this on 20, let's see, we're at 23. Is there a motion to, I think the discussion got the clarification. Does anybody, did somebody make a motion?
I made a motion to amend that to include allowing them to do presentations if they so desire beyond what staff is going to present.
And just to be, can I, yeah,
10 minutes?
Yeah, well, per the request from the agenda memos that we requested was 10 minute, no more than 10 minutes with some time for question and answer. So it would extend to that.
And Mayor, I'm going to second that because the request was specific to what Councilman Hernandez just said. So I'm going to second that.
just so, Mayor, just so you, if you, just to make sure we're clear, so that will be about maybe an hour and 20 minutes. We'll have to set aside to make sure you get enough time to hear from all the companies. If everybody presented at 10 minutes apiece, there's 7 companies at this point, so it'll be a little over an hour just in that one item. Just want to point it out.
Actually, sir, it's 9 that confirmed interest. 9.
Okay, I'm sorry, it'd be an hour and a half then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, for their presentations.
Yes, sir.
We'll try to, the agenda, we posted already, well, we sent the draft out. It's not too heavy of an agenda, so we just want to budget your time accordingly with that type of a layout.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, if you just,
And Mayor, they may not all
if you don't
want-
have confidence in the staff to give you an accurate summary, then we've got a real problem. But if you want to type another hour and a half, just so everybody's happy, that's fine with me. We're here, so.
Mayor, I got to correct you there, that it is not so that everyone is happy. This was the request. It was the request, and we're asking for that request. That's it. And may I remind everyone, we have spent 2 hours in public, listening to public comment, which is very important. But this is a $222 million issue. So I don't think that listening to what everyone has to say, by the way, we gave them that time limit, is gonna go by the wayside in vain.
All right, there's a motion and a second on item 23 with, they'll get their
Mayor,
10
I think
minutes.
that's an amendment to the,
Yeah, it's a motion to amend, Mayor.
Motion to
amend, and it was to give
Give them an opportunity
the
for a
RFP
10-minute
respondents
presentation if they desire.
directly, right, and it would be no more than 10 minutes.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the amendment. Is that
That's right, Mayor. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. Would you like to call the
Anybody else have
roll?
any comment? Ms. Molina?
Mr. Zanoni, didn't recently hear one of our meetings, we ended up starting the meeting earlier to allow for additional time?
Yes, we did, Councilman. That's a good idea as well. So we started, I think, at 10 o'clock recently. We can do that. We can start if the council wants, or even 9 o'clock.
We have a TERS meeting that day, a TERS number 3, so just keep that in mind. The
I believe
downtown
TERS number 3 is at 9:30.
Right.
And so we could start at 10:30.
Well, we can start the meeting at 9, the TERS. I'm not sure what the 9:30 is about. We can start at 9 to 10. I think the agenda, and then start right after. We can post it for 10.
So do 9 to 10 for TERS 3, and
Yeah,
then
9 to 10 for TERS, and then we'll start our council meeting at 10.
Okay.
That's a good idea, Councilman. Thank you.
Okay, any other comment? Your light's on, is it? You got something? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
So I make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excuse me? Somebody say something?
Michael just said aye.
Okay, all opposed? Okay. Item 24 is an ordinance accepting a grant from the Executive Office of the President on the National Drug and Control Policy for $144,621.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Item 24 is a grant. That is a 19 grant that's been accepted by y'all last year. Through some bookkeeping or some routing issues, it was never appropriated. Now, there's been continuance of the grants, been uninterrupted. No lack of funding or reimbursement to the city for the overtime, vehicles, or personnel that it paid for has happened. But we need to bring it back to make sure that it was formally appropriated by council. Stand by for any questions.
I move for approval.
Second.
All right, there's a motion to approve. So did he say that this goes back to 2018? It was money granted in 18 and wasn't appropriated, or what did he say?
In 19. In 19.
In
So
19.
it's a yearly grant we've had for a couple decades now. It's for high intensity drug trafficking area for the disruption of drug trafficking organizations. We work with several agencies, 17 counties. It runs from Louisiana border to Corpus Christi.
Okay. All right. There's no, okay, there's no penalty for not appropriating it through 19, right?
No, sir. No, it's a formality. Again, the funds have been rolling. We've been sending in reimbursements and getting the reimbursements for the overtime vehicles and the clerical staff associated with it. We just didn't come back to council for the official appropriation of it, which we should have. That's
Oh, all right.
Yes, sir.
All right. There's a motion and a second. Is that correct? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Item 25.
Item 25 is the same for this year's funding of HIDA. This is we are appropriating those funds. Little less money that they've taken the clerical staff and they pay for that directly now. Still funds 4 TFOs, task force officers, and 4 vehicles to join that 17 county group to disrupt drug trafficking. Stand by for any questions.
I move for approval, Mayor.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on item 25. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, number 26, Chief, you've been busy.
Busy, yeah. The little cleanup today. 26 was acceptance of a grant for a rent court operation. That's where we try to divert our prostitution stings rather than lock them up. We try to break that cycle, and we give them options to rehab and get out of the drug life and that life. That was a grant for $22,000. It was put into the general fund instead of the grants fund. So we need to do some ledger adjusting and move that money over with your approval. Stand by for any questions.
Move to approve.
I move for approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on item 26. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Hey, Chief, this is Councilman Hernandez. I want to say how much I appreciate the fact that you guys go ahead and get these grants. It seems like every other council meeting, the police department is getting grants. And so kudos to you and your department for getting these grants.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, a lot of good staff here and in the city. We're working hard on it. Thank you.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 27, ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment with TAON CPR to approve the operation of a news and gift concession at the International Airport. Fred,
Good
where you
afternoon,
been?
Mayor and Council. Fred Segundo, Director of Aviation. On August 14th, 2020, Hudson Group terminated their month-to-month lease of the gift shop at the airport. The amendment before you will allow the airport concessionaire known as Tailwind to add a new gift shop at the airport. Stand by for any questions.
Any questions? The gift shop, the little coffee shop outside in the public area, there's not a gift shop there. You're talking about the gift shop inside the...
Yeah, gift shop inside the...
Inside the secured area?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, and what about the restaurant in the public area? There's nobody yet there to fill that?
Yes, the restaurant is open as well.
It is?
We do, yeah, we do it just during rush hour, and then
Okay.
they'll go back.
Okay. Because last time I was out there, all the soda machines were empty. I guess because of just not that much traffic, but hopefully
Absolutely.
traffic's upticked out there, I understand, so things are getting better.
Yes, Mayor.
All right, that would be item number 26, 7.
27.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 28, an ordinance authorizing amendment to water arterial transmission and grid main construction agreement.
Okay, and on this item, just for your information, Mr. Roy is abstaining.
All right, Everett Roy is abstaining on item 28.
Yes, sir.
Who's making this presentation?
Good afternoon, Mayor Al Raymond with Development Services. I'll wait for the gentleman to bring up the presentation, and here we are. Okay, great. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This request is to amend the Kings Landing Water Arterial Transmission and Grid Main Construction and Reimbursement Agreement with MPM Development LP. The purpose of this ordinance is to authorize the city manager or his designee to amend the total reimbursable amount by $20,562.52. Next slide, please. This slide shows the approximate location of the planned water utilities infrastructure improvements. As you see there, the blue line, it represents 5,665 linear feet of 16-inch water grid main line to be installed, and the yellow line represents 376 linear feet of 12-inch water grid main line to be installed. The amendment to the total reimbursable amount is to include the additional cost associated with performance bond insurance, which will increase the total authorized amount by $20,562.52. If this is approved, the reimbursable amount authorized in the agreement will increase from $154,126.23 to $174,688.75. The initial reimbursement agreement was approved by this council in June of 2020. Next slide, please. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the wastewater arterial transmission and grid main construction and reimbursement agreement and increase the reimbursable amount by $20,562.52. I stand by for any questions.
Okay, anybody have any question on item 28?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on item 28. Any public comment? No one contacted? All right, any comment, council? Don't see any. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Mr. Roy abstains.
And Everett Roy abstaining, okay. Item number 29, authorizing acceptance of a grant of $919,000 from the Office of the Governor from the Texas Military Preparedness Commission.
Tammy Embry, Director of Intergovernmental Relations. This item just authorizes the city manager to execute the final grant agreement for the CCAD Flight Line Security and Enhancement Project. We'll be constructing a road on the flight line side of CCAD, also doing some repair and restriping to bring their flight line and helipad markings and up to speed with the new naval installation flight line security requirements.
Well, that's great news.
And we will be providing a grant, a match of $92,000. This appropriates the money, sets everything up. We're working on the gifting process with the Navy, and it'll be done, deadline to be done is 2 years from the date of award.
All right.
Any questions?
I don't think anybody really understands how difficult it is to do something nice for the Navy.
You are absolutely correct, sir. But we work through that and we get it done. And we actually have a second round of DEAG that's open right now that we're working on an application to do some more good work for the Navy.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to report, I think we'll also be able to finally close our land swap by the end of the year. So we're making some tremendous project on our Navy, our military infrastructure projects.
Yeah. I mean, that land swap we've been nursing for
Decades.
4 years, I think.
Yeah.
The land was purchased
It's tough
in the
to give
80s.
stuff away sometimes.
Yep.
Okay, this is great news, though, and we appreciate all your work on it. Any other comments on Mr. Garza?
Just a question, Mayor. Thank you very much. The 92,000, the grant, great work. It's very well welcomed in order to be able to make sure we try to keep our military installations here. The 92,000, would that be coming from
It comes out
something
of
in
the
our general
Military Infrastructure Revolving Loan Program. We, back in the mid to late 2000s, the city got a military revolving loan from the governor's office to do some infrastructure work on the base. And we have since refinanced that, and no longer have to go to the governor's office for approval of every project, but we still have that reserved for military infrastructure projects, and that's the fund that this grant will come out, the grant match will come out of.
Well, I'm talking about our particular $92,000 match.
Yes.
Is that coming?
That's coming from that military
From that same-
infrastructure. We have refinanced that, so it's no longer a loan from the state. So that is an infrastructure and a military infrastructure investment fund that we hold. It would specifically for the ability to do matches. It's also what our land swap is being funded out of.
So the city has that?
The city has that ability,
Okay,
yeah.
great, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Entertain a motion to approve number 29.
So moved.
There's a
Second.
motion, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? All right, item number 30 is accepting $7.2 million from the CARES Act. And this is just accepting the money that we've submitted expenses for, I suppose, and they're
Yes, sir.
sending it back now to,
Alma Casas, Assistant Director of Finance. This is actually part of the original 17 million that we were awarded.
right?
This is the last tranche of it because we had the 17 million and then we awarded the 3.2 million to Nueces County, the 3.5 million that we received, which was the 20%. And then jointly between us and the county, we've also identified expenses that we can, projects that we can work on together, and that's 3.9. So the difference is this 7.2 million. It's just appropriating the rest of it.
All right. So this is
It's good.
the good news is that this is recouping some money that we've spent.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're just now, we're getting it now.
We're getting, yes, we've
All right.
already, we've expended 4.7 million to date and have billed a little, almost 3 million.
All right.
So,
Well, this is great. It'd be kind of interesting, Mr. Manager. Obviously, these funds are coming a whole lot quicker than FEMA and some of the others when there's disaster funds involved, but of course, the fiscal year ends the end of this month. To kind of come up and really see what impact, the net impact would be after we've gotten reimbursement. So it may not be as bad as we were initially anticipating, or it could be worse, I just don't know. But
Yeah, no, this will definitely help our bottom line for the fiscal year that ends on September 30th.
now,
Absolutely.
this isn't,
Yeah.
this won't cover lost revenue, sales
No.
tax, hotel, motel tax, but it will at least cover our first responders, our equipment, what we're doing to try to keep people safe, masks, and et cetera, which
Exactly,
we
yeah.
spend a lot of money on. So
A
thank
lot
you.
of the PPE, some of the health staff as well. The health district's been working a lot of overtime, so that'll be covered as well.
And we all laughed when they said it would be here till Christmas back in March or April.
I know.
We're not laughing anymore, are we?
No.
All right, item number 30. Anybody have any comments on that? Mr. Smith?
Thank you. Alma, so of the $17 million, how much now is spoken for? How much do we have left? So after this, for future expenses that we're not aware of or have not been accrued yet?
we've planned to spend most of it. I mean, the 17 million is pretty much spoken for. We've already built it into little tranches, and the way they're spending it, because there's only certain categories that it can be spent on and so many percentages, we have it broken out like that. And so we've been working with the departments, and they've got plans on how they want to spend that money.
Okay, so the pot's empty then as far as other
Well, I
expenses?
mean, we have money, but most of it has already been earmarked.
Yeah, that's,
Yes.
yes, I'm asking
Yes.
what have we not earmarked? And I'm hearing it's,
$0.
Okay.
So there's going to be some, between now and December, some of the things that have earmarks includes air ventilation machines for the health department. We'll be bringing those to council. So those are some pretty big purchases. The mayor and I worked with, at her request, Judge Canales for the city to contribute an additional $200,000 for a community awareness campaign, a media type community awareness campaign through the winter months here, the fall winter months. That's another example of an earmark. So all the 17 million between the city, county, and school districts now is allocated. Not all of it has been spent, and some items have to come to council still, and that'll happen over the next couple of weeks.
So if additional school districts come in, the wells dry, or we have expenses because of the vaccination program, if it comes early, then
Well, we can consider things still. We'd have to adjust our plans, our
You
spending
better get
plans. Yeah. We could say, okay, that's more important than this
Okay.
item we were planning on bringing forward. So there was about $4 million that had some wiggle room. And that's, of course, the county's eyeing some of that money as well. But we did have $4 million after we granted the county money. All that had an earmark to it, so to speak, but it's adjustable.
so we need to be careful then going forward.
Yes, right. We don't know what's going to happen in the fall. I mean, some of
Yeah.
us got the flu vaccine today, but there could be the need for additional health services over the next 3 months. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and the other thing is that, I mean, you can purchase some advanced, I think, inventory, masks and other things, but the money has to be expended and committed on or before December 30th, I think. But you can expend it in December, but if you've got an inventory for masks for January, February, you can do that. So hopefully, we'll have some indication by then that we're done with this, but we don't know. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. All right, any other further discussion on item 30? But we do appreciate the CARES money, I can assure you.
Move to approve.
Motion, and there's a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Don't have any briefings, do we?
No
Don't see
briefings,
No,
No
we don't.
briefings today, and do we have an executive session? I think we do.
Yeah,
Yes, we
one
do.
executive
One of them.
session.
Excuse me?
Executive session number 32, that will be on the Frost Bank.
All right, and let me get over here to my agenda where Ms. Huerta keeps me out of trouble. Well, Ms. Huerta,
It's on page 5, Mayor.
on page 5.
Yeah, that's where the
Oh, yeah,
lunch
you
break
put it up
is.
there around lunchtime or
Yes, sir.
something, don't you?
Mhm.
I was looking at the end of the meeting, excuse me. All right, here we go. We're even ahead of this, we're at the end of the meeting. Mercy, mercy, mercy. Okay, we're on item 32, the last item on the agenda. And it says that the council will go into executive session on item 32 per the Texas Government Code, sections 551.071 and 551.072. And while we're in there, we'll take advantage of the lunch break and be back. Is there going to be any action required on this agenda item, or is this information?
No action, just information.
So we'll go back and have our meeting, eat our lunch, come back and adjourn. So we'll go into executive session. So we do this, we shut everything down and we
Mr. Roy, can you speak into the microphone? I'm sorry. You need to capture it.
Can we get a brief, quick update in the future on where we're at with the building that was being rehabbed down there off of,
The Lamar Building?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a good update on the design, the pre-design, and I did my personally about 2 weeks ago, so we can bring you that.
Yeah, I'd love
Yeah.
to just get an update on where we're at with
Okay,
it.
absolutely. We'll put that on the agenda. It's looking great, by the way. And Rochelle Foundation's doing a lot of value-added improvements for us, to include acquiring more blighted areas to create more parking, so with sufficient parking.
All right,
That's going to
good.
be a beautiful complex when it's done.
All right. I thought I saw somebody else. Yes, sir?
I've gotten several complaints, and I've actually talked to Michael Rodriguez on this, about the memorial garden that we approved last year in July. I don't know if, we don't have a signed contract. There's a few things going on there. I'd like an update on where that's at, where it's going, the issues we've been having, if that would be, to get some clarity on that, because I think we're creating ourselves more problems as it stands right now.
Yeah, would you like a brief, is that an agenda item or a briefing memo? We can do it in a form of a briefing memo.
Briefing memo's fine.
Quickest information you got, simplest.
We did release I think you saw it, Councilman, but Al Raymond went out to inspect the statues to make sure they're safe, and that's undetermined, so he's given them 30 days to make sure they have an engineering certification. And so maybe within that 30 days, we can give you an update on what's...
Well, it's not just those. There's several other complaints where people have been denied acts or donations to it. Plaques have been removed. I think there needs to be an audit of the nonprofit organization where that money's going. They're charging $3,000, or I forget the amount that they're charging for plaques and for benches. It's very it's somewhat haphazard, and I don't want it to be a negative on the city. So if we can have a real good look at what's going on, the principles involved in that nonprofit, and making sure that we're covered on that. This is a victim's memorial, and you get people with a lot of emotions on this. I want to make sure we're doing this right, and that we don't have any blowback on us.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The second item, and I know you probably have this coming up, but a legislative agenda for the coming up state.
Yes, we do. I think it's, I don't know if it was December, I don't know how it was, but we do have it. That's
Okay,
on
do
our-
you need input from city council members, or,
Yeah,
I mean, how you?
we'll be seeking that from the council members one-on-one.
Okay.
And, yeah, and then in that meeting as well.
All right, thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir, thank you.
Just a quick clarification on that. I mean, we're just the landlord on the piece of property on that. We have nothing to do with the administration, day-to-day operation, or anything to do with that memorial.
That's correct, Mayor. Yeah, we do not.
So they go by the lease agreement, property lease, and that's it.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. It's not a city operation, it's just a piece of property they've leased from us.
You're right, that's correct.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the organization? If not, we're going to be out of here before lunch gets here. We're adjourned.